adjustments on here while that's going on. There's a change. Yo, what is up?
How's it going?
What's up, everybody?
Ladies and gentlemen, how's it going?
Yeah.
Good to see you again.
Back in the studio, man.
Thanks for having me again, man. I really appreciate it. I've been pumped ever since you said that you wanted to have me again on the podcast, and I thought it was really awesome.
Yeah, dude, dude, it's just conversation. Everybody just chilling, talking. And you know what's crazy is that it doesn't really happen as much as it should anymore. Like, people don't chill and talk for like a good hour or so.
You know,
just talk.
Yeah, totally. I have the pleasure of traveling, like, you know, maybe 45 minutes, hour away from places. And so I have a couple hours with some guys when I'm working, and it's amazing how much you can learn about a person in a couple hours. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It really is.
Especially, in that long spans of a drive, just chilling.
And there's nothing that makes the time pass faster than talking. You know what I mean? And I think it's a lost art, too. I think a lot of people are a little bit too gun shy when it comes to conversation, too.
Well, it's hard, too, because if you have a conversation online or just talk to somebody, like text them and stuff like that, you can't really talk. You can't really show them emotion. You can't really show sarcasm.
No,
in a weird way, it's just not there.
One of the classes I remember helping my wife with when she was going to college was nonverbal communication class.
Oh shit!
And I never, I never took any college classes or any college courses for that matter. And so when I was helping her with nonverbal communications class, it was hilarious because there's so much nonverbal communication. That's why, look at, for instance, right here. You're on video. You're not on just audio.
Yeah.
You have a video component to this podcast for that reason. So they can see you, see how you live, how you are, who you are.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, too, they can see your emotion along with mine.
Yeah, when we're talking, like the reactions and stuff.
Dude,
like that.
the thing is, too, I'm a big hand person. You know what I mean? So I try when I'm on the podcast not to. But when I'm out and about, I talk with my hands all the time. So it's better to convey because that's a lot of nonverbal communication.
And we'll probably see it, too, throughout the podcast. Like, I'm pretty sure I remember last podcast you were just...
Yeah, I know. I was trying not to because I want to... Yeah, I know. It's just, and then also, too, I want to genuinely bring myself, you know what I mean? So, anywho, that was that.
So, pretty eventful day. You've been out and about doing some shooting, getting some shit done.
Oh my god,
you're always out there doing shit, man. Fucking impressed, dude.
Yeah, I have the
9:45 first one.
Yeah, you know what I mean. I'm like I have the pleasure of being invited to some places that, you know what I mean. I don't think a lot of people are. Well, I know that a lot of people are not because of the fact that I've been there by myself. Filming, and when I say filming, what I'm doing is just I got a few skills from filming my daily vlog on wood floors, and I decided to take that to the streets. And next thing you know, here it is, 3 weeks later. I think this is the third week, and it's been a whirlwind. I think this is a month now. I think it's been a month. This is my fourth weekend, and every week I'll get more invites to another one. And then so a couple weeks ago or last week, and I hooked up with Rob Vanderslice, the world famous. Look him up on Google, and you'll see he's got some pretty inspirational talks that he does, and he's pretty prolific. So Rob Vanderslice, if you Google him, you'll see he's the world famous lowrider painter.
Yeah, that's the first thing that comes up. Rob Vanderslice paint job.
Yeah, and so he paints all the most famous, paint jobs that you'll see in Lowrider magazine. He paints. I mean, it's something else. He has not only does he paint stripes, if that's the most basic way that you're going to boil it down to, he paints stripes. But to paint stripes the way he does and use the palette he has, use the canvas he has for each vehicle, it's just mind-boggling. And so he has made himself available to just go out to everybody's graduation cruise, everybody's celebration, whether it be you're celebrating a birthday or like a graduation, whatever it might be. We've been going out to the community and we've been filming the cruise by. The cruise by is a brand new thing because, as of however long ago, the beginning of March or whatever, before the lockdown, there wasn't such thing as a cruise by birthday. There might have been.
Oh, yeah. Or like a parade-ish kind of thing, but not a literal cruise by.
I don't remember it. I got the Kool-Aid mustache because I drank some Gatorade right away before the podcast. But so the cruise by wasn't something that happened before March. So in February, cruise by wasn't that big of a thing. Or it didn't exist in your world.
Yeah.
Just like for me, I didn't know a cruise by. So now what we're doing is Rob and all these other car clubs that I've hooked up with and people that I've met, we're doing cruise buys. We're doing cruise buys, surprise cruise buys. This morning, 9:45 this morning, we did a cruise buy for a retired APD officer. He was turning 63. We all lined up. There was 50 cars, another 16 bikes.
Dope.
And just all these lowrider bombas and all kinds of stuff, right? We line up, and I run up with the camera on an ex-APD officer, and I got this black camera in my hand, and I'm shoving it in his face, and he rolls down the window like, and I'm like, oh shit, I'm gonna get shot, man. I hope I don't get shot. I'm like, I'm running up to this guy, and I got this thing in my hand, and it's black, and it's got little, it's black, and I'm not too sure if everybody knows what a GoPro looks like on the end of a gimbal. So I run up to him, and he rolls down his window, and he's like, and he goes, what the hell's going on? And he tells his wife, and so they pull into their parking spot, and she goes, it's your birthday, happy birthday. And you can almost see him tear up. The guy's 63, he's a retired APD officer. And then what we did was, I filmed the procession, of people just coming in and wishing him and giving him gifts, and that's what we've been doing for the past 2 weeks or longer, 3 weeks, is we've been going to these birthdays, we've been going to graduations, and just filming all the happy people.
You have been filming. They usually do that. That's what they do.
Yeah, there's a lot of them that go on too without anybody filming it. But yes,
you've started to film this, and
so what I've been
putting it out there for everybody to see. Like,
yeah, and so
this goes on in the world.
Yeah, and the world also, just like you said, this goes on in the world, but the world also goes on. You know what I mean? Not due to Corona, you're not going to deny your kid a graduation.
Oh, good segue. If good segue.
You know what I mean, right? If you deny the kid a graduation, then you're taking something away from them that has been afforded to everybody else who's worked those four years to just get to the end, and to be an adult and to move along in life and to do right. And there's so many of us, like myself, that didn't do that. So I kind of try to enjoy honoring those kids.
Yeah, it's cool. It's a cool experience. It's
fun.
And
you could see it in their eyes. And then we pull up Rob, the most prolific lowrider painter there is. He pulls up in his Cadillac that has like lights embedded in it. And we usually bring at least another lowrider or some bikes or something. We reach out to the community. They come through. People come to us. We go to people. We ask. It's just kind of like networking. It's kind of like the same thing that we would do in wood floors.
Yeah.
Network. You get networking. Next thing you know, you have a customer or a realtor that might be a customer. So what I've done is I've just taken my resources or my ability as a networking salesperson, as a wood floor salesperson who's filming wood floors, and I've done a 180, and I've turned that into a guy who has resources and people, and we've been filming the good in the community. And there's been let me try to say this the right way. The demographic of people who are having these drive-bys, it's so many different demographics. So we would go to the house where today we went to a house where they had an entire setup like a carnival. Each one of the people had shirts, custom shirts made where it said carnival staff or something to that effect. They had poster boards that said, random prices and snacks that you can buy. It was all kind of a facade for a cruise by for a 1-year-old. This thing was decked out. They had trays. I felt bad because the people that we were going to celebrate with, they had so much to do because they gave themselves so many tasks to do. People were running out with trays with Cokes and popcorn on it, right?
Oh, okay.
And then there was people who were handing out food in styrofoam to the people who were cruising by that came out to bring the vehicle.
Dope. That actually sounds sick.
It was pretty cool, but I felt bad for them because they had so much to do. You know what I mean? So what I'm trying to point out was the difference between one cruise to the other. Then we went to several houses that didn't even have landscaping in the front yard, and they might not even have had but a dozen vehicles or less in their parade. And we went out with a couple lowriders and we took pictures and we rearranged this and bring this over here and let's take some pictures. And then what we realized is that at a certain point we started to realize, hey, there's a lot of these people that we're going to, because we've been doing it like almost every day. There's people that we're going to who this will be the only opportunity to get in front of a photographer. And I'm not a photographer. I'm just a guy. But because I've been trying to photograph my work for so long, and it's very hard to just photograph a floor. I mean, look at this carpet behind me, guys. Isn't it amazing? No. So how do you photograph that? You know what I mean? It's like, and there's carpet guys out there that take pictures of their work every day, and it looks great. You know what I mean? They do awesome work with stairs, and they do kind of crazy stuff with carpets and seams, and it's really intricate stuff. But look at the carpet. It's hard to film that. And so when it comes to wood floor, it's
even take a picture and
yeah, it's weird to just like frame it and then to have like
a gallery or
it's weird because then
collection.
What you're really taking pictures of is empty rooms, and then every once in a while you get one that's populated with furniture, but for the most part you're taking pictures of empty rooms or empty of people rooms. So it'll have furniture, it'll be furnished areas,
but just
and for the most part, it just kind of gets repetitive. So I've tried to make that look good. And in doing that, I've kind of, I don't even look at it as a talent until other people tell me. But then I've tried to just frame people. And the easiest thing to do is cars because they're so beautiful in my own mind. And what I've done a lot of is, just growing up poor, I had lowrider magazines. I would always buy lowrider magazines. And that's where, I started to see Rob at. And just kind of reading all the specs and just kind of enjoying all the story of everything that goes into the vehicle.
Yeah, because they do show the price, like this, like how it came to be.
It's so amazing how much
and dope shots, dope pictures.
And that was one of the things too, is we would take the lowrider magazine and we'd tear out pages and cut it so that we would do exactly what you have here.
Yeah,
but we had lowrider magazines, lowrider magazine pictures.
Yeah.
And the lowrider magazine pictures, they were just something to wake up to and feel like you were part of a culture. And so when I got the opportunity to go with New Mexico C10 Club, that was my first cruise a month ago today. I had my GoPro. I think I had 2 of them at the time. I think maybe I got 2 later, but I had at least 1 GoPro. And I just went around and I started taking pictures. And I was trying to stay out of the way of, like, there was a photographer there. And one of the guys who runs C10 Club, he's, like, got this big old Canon. And so I'm, like, just trying to stay out of the way. And I'm low-key taking some pictures with my little tiny GoPro. And then I take them home and I threw them through some editing software, play with them, do some stuff, crop, pull, boom, start posting them to Instagram with some cool little stuff. And everybody starts freaking out. Like, the dude who, like, invited me to that cruise, he was like, bro, you're a keeper. Like, this is awesome. And I was like, oh, sweet. Yeah, it is kind of awesome, isn't it? So I'll just keep going.
And you just, keep doing shit there.
So I just kept going with that cruise. I had got so many pictures because of the way I'd filmed it and everything else. I got so much film. I got so much content from that cruise. I just kept going. And then that week, like in the middle of the week, I got a DM from another dude, and he was like, "Hey, bro, we're gonna have another cruise. You mind coming out?" I was like, "Hell yeah!" And I was like thinking, what would I do correct? What did I like visually from the last time I did it? Let's try this. Let's try that. Let's try a few of these. Let's try some time lapse, which it doesn't translate really well sometimes. Time lapse with a vehicle.
Yeah.
When I'm doing wood floors, it's easy because then I could find a focal point, and then we can do some weird stuff with the camera.
Yeah, especially like the work that puts into it. I mean,
and so the wood floors, it's a little bit easier to do time lapse with. But with cars, it's kind of weird because then you start walking around, and then you're wasting time that you could be taking pictures. So what I've been doing is I've been just taking a bunch of pictures, just picture, and then video of the cruise by, and then I've been making sure to get the cruises at the organic point of the cruise meeting the person that we're having the cruise for. And that's been pretty cool.
Because I've seen you do a lot of those shots too, where you do it like on the corner of the street, or right when they're doing the turn.
Because basically you're getting like a 3/4 shot of every vehicle as it comes along. And then the vehicles are so low, and there's so much artistry put into each vehicle that me and you were standing and having a conversation with a gentleman last weekend. You accompanied me to Rob Vanderslice's daughter's cruise.
Yeah.
You took video of me, and then you took video of the cruise, and you took video of a bunch of different stuff. You took pictures.
Yeah.
And you did really good. You killed it, man. Everybody was really impressed with the content that you gave.
Yeah.
And then what I was doing is I was taking what you gave me and I was editing it and putting it out there and tagging you as the photographer and me the editor, and man, it was really cool stuff. And I told Rob, hey, because I did bring my cousin and his car club, Low Vision, and that day, we cruised from the house of the president of Low Vision. Me and you did. We went and met him. Me and you took pictures of him. We cruised down Central.
Yeah.
You took pretty wicked pictures of me in the back of the lowrider.
Yeah.
And then we went down to Old Town, and then we went to Tigway Park. And all that is just like lowrider central all day long. Me and you took pictures, and then at the end of the night, Rob came to me. Well, you were there. You witnessed it. And he said, hey, I got this, and I want you to be involved in that, and this and that. And I'm like, I'm just like blown away. The coolest interaction for me that day up until that point was just taking a few pictures with Rob Vanderslice, having the honor of taking pictures of his daughter's graduation procession
and all the lowriders
and all the lowriders, and then have also the opportunity to say, hey, I brought out Chris and Low Vision, and I made sure that they came because I used my networking skills like I was talking before. And again, guys, if you're watching, don't be scared to ask, okay? One of the things that they'll teach you in sales is that the salesman who doesn't ask for the sale won't get it. So go ask. Whatever it is, and I'm not even talking about a sale like if you're selling a product or a good. What I'm saying is the sale could be something like something that you want or that you think that is a good idea. Reach out to your family member. Reach out to that person that can help you do that. And don't be scared to ask. You know what I mean? And even if you don't succeed with what you're doing, at least you tried.
Yeah, there's a bunch of that never happens. Like, just that intimidation or just don't want to just go out there and do it.
Exactly. It's just fear of asking. So what I've tried to like kind of just master right now is just the getting over the fear of asking somebody for something. And my DMs sound, a lot of them are silly because I'm like DMing like big people here in Albuquerque. And I thought that same thing about Rob. I said, man, I'm DMing some pretty big dude, you know what I mean? Like in the lowrider community. And I was like, I don't know if he's going to
say anything.
Answer back. Because I've DM'd so many people that are big here in this community just because I'm trying to shine a light on Burke, on Albuquerque. And because I'm trying to shine a light on Albuquerque, I'm trying to do it in the most positive way. And there's so many people here that live here and live in Santa Fe and stuff. And I've reached out DM wise to so many people. And then you just don't hear anything back from 99.9% of all the DMs that I sent out. And I understand those are lofty goals, but without lofty goals, you don't get anywhere. You know what I mean? So don't be scared, Go to Soy Swervin. What's homie's name?
Irvin.
Irvin? Okay,
Yeah.
so Irvin was here after the last podcast, and I talked to him.
He's going to be here after this one, too, probably.
Sweet. So Irvin was here, and shout out to my man. And I told him, just do you in front of your camera and start posting that. And he started doing that. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
You've seen that. And it's beautiful content. People are like, I looked through the comments on his post that I encouraged him to do, and it's just like, I'm like, dude.
Yeah, you're doing something.
It's just something. And you guys, you do the same thing. You have you that you do you. And so do it on social media, because that's what it's for. And just show the world who you are with what you do and what you bring, because I was telling Irvin, there's some kid in Japan who hasn't seen you yet, but you're like an American classic and people want to see that,
Yeah.
The same thing with vehicles. The reason I'm shooting these things is because they are relics from a time past.
And there's still a market for it. There's always going to be a market for it.
And they're becoming more and more rare. So the more I can archive these things, and the craziest part is I don't have to go anywhere but to like the west side or to like Rio Rancho.
Down the street.
I'm like downtown or like Old Town. It's like I don't have to, usually a photographer that can be this prolific is at a huge expense, and I don't have a huge expense. The only thing I have to put in is my $20 in my gas tank, and I go and I get to these places that are already there with people who already exist in this community, and I film them and I put my camera in between them and you and all the other people who enjoy my stuff, and just to show the world, hey, look at what we're doing. This is pretty dope.
Yeah, because I think about it, I'm just like, how many lowriders are there in Oregon?
Dude, I don't think there's that many. I'm like, the other day that, not the weekend that it was me and you, but the weekend before that, there was a secret show that we had, and the secret show had more Impalas in one, like 64, just straight up 64 Impalas that were like pimp. More 64 Impalas in any one spot than I've ever freaking seen in my life.
Damn.
I've never seen a TV show with that many 64 Impalas ever. Like I've watched all the shows, like all the car shows, like all the time, and never has there been one TV show that can show me that many of one specific genre of lowrider, which is a very popular one because it's very beautiful and there's so many different ways. Because me and you, we gave best in the show at Deja Vanderslice's cruise to a 64 Impala.
I think so, yeah.
62, 64, 63, I don't know. I apologize. But me and you gave him best in show because this guy had so much engraving. And so when I'm talking about Impalas, Albuquerque, I even posted this. I'm like, Albuquerque is the Impala capital of the world. And it's a beautiful platform to do all kinds of art. It's like a canvas that you can do so much art with. And it's amazing that we have so many right here in Albuquerque. This page right here, this page, if you were to make one of these in a car, these were here,
Yeah, I know, right?
Another thing I want you to look up, Angelito, while you have Google up, and I can show you guys here, is Google Lowrider Magazine. Okay, Google that. And look at their pictures. And what I noticed, guys, is Lowrider Magazine, all their pictures are the backdrop, like 80% of their pictures are the backdrop with Albuquerque or the Sandias or the West Side, or like, it's just bonkers how much of their content is shot right here in Albuquerque. Right in Albuquerque. It is just, I mean, it's pretty amazing. And I don't know. Maybe I'm. So, you know, some of the stuff looks really familiar. Some of it not. But I mean, it's like, it's really crazy. I mean, there's a lot of
There's a lot
of pictures, but I was looking at them, and if you look at some of them, even if you pull up the Instagram page of, you know, there's a lot of stuff of backdrops of Albuquerque. You know what I mean? We don't even have to prove our point right now, but you guys can do it for yourselves.
I get what you say, though.
But there's so much of Lowrider magazine that has the backdrop of the Sandias, the West Side, or whatever. And it's because there's photographers here that know that this is pretty much like one of the lowrider. You know, Espanola was called the lowrider capital of the world. You know, and it still is. There's museums. I encourage you to go see. You know, if once, I don't know if they're open anymore, or when they will be open again. Hopefully,
closed forever.
Yeah, hopefully not. But I think there's museums in Espanola. You know, Espanola was called the lowrider capital of the world, and we're the largest metropolis next to Espanola. You know what I mean? We're not next to it. We're an hour away or something like that. But we're the biggest group of people near the lowrider capital of the world. So it's just one of those things that happens naturally. Like you said, does Oregon, or I'm not even trying to shit on Oregon, and I apologize, Oregon. I love you guys. I have family up there pretty much.
But how many lowriders are there?
How many lowriders in Oregon? But at the same time, too, how many lowriders are in, you know, Wisconsin, or how many lowriders are in Ohio? I'm sure there's a decent amount, but per capita for the lowrider,
yeah, just not as much
percentage-wise. I don't
think
so. I don't. There's no data behind that theory. It's just with my own two eyes. You know?
Yeah, it's just it's common sense. I mean, we're just thinking away, especially the demographic, like where we're at, the Southwest. We're like come from that Hispanic culture and stuff.
The culture, you know what I mean? Angelito, you know what I mean? Lowriders, it's just culture. It's just the culture. You know what I mean? And that's what I've been trying to do, is just show the good too at Albuquerque. We have so much good and so much happy people and so many positive things here that it's amazing. We get painted in such a bad light. Albuquerque is bad, but how many people hear about like the violence that might be going on in another city that's even bigger than Albuquerque,
right?
That might have half the reporting as far as it goes. I understand Albuquerque is pretty dangerous, and that's what they tell us. But at the same time, too, there's a lot to offer here. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of happy stuff going on, you know. There's people coming in all the time from all over the place just to see balloon fiestas and Breaking Bad tours alone.
Yeah, just that. Yeah.
Just that.
We have history here, too. Like, don't even get me started on the history.
You know,
shit's created here. We have national labs that house shit for the whole United States here. I mean...
And national labs that have been... prolific for decades.
Yeah, dude, they've been there for a long ass time. I mean, some of them are even now. I mean, not to get a little bit out of the blue or anything, but
go blue.
There's now, like, the government has just released information and stuff saying that they believe in UFOs. That
and what better time to do it than now?
The Pentagon and all of them have said that.
You know, and nobody gave us not because we're just like, okay, we're pretty sure something else is coming next, and that's not that big of a surprise at this point. And I guess in what we might call life, whatever it is that you want to, whatever theory you might have on what it is, but it's the truth, man. They did. And you guys can look it up.
They're saying shit now. So that's what's even crazier, is just like the government is okay with it coming out now.
Yeah.
And that blows me away, because that means that there was people here in our national labs that worked here that finally can just say, yeah, there was talking about one guy, I don't know if you know this name, Bob Lazar.
Oh, Bob Lazar, man.
Yeah, he worked here.
Yes.
He was here in New Mexico.
Yes, and the reason that they say didn't he make a jet car, and he was in the local paper in Los Alamos.
Yeah.
Because of his jet car. And then they erased his existence. You know, this is all stuff that you've probably heard on other podcasts. But they erased his existence in Los Alamos lab.
Here, though, where we're at.
I mean, pretty dang close, dude. Right here. And then, you know, all the speculation on what is here and what has been here and what they've worked on. You know, a lot of it you don't even have to speculate against. There's stuff that you can actually look at that has been made at Los Alamos. For the biggest, for instance, is the atomic bomb.
Yeah.
It was built right here, guys. And they built it up here, and then they went down there, however many miles, and they blew it up. Right?
Yeah.
There's a Trinity site that you can visit today because the Manhattan Project, in cars similar to what I'm filming today, cars like that, they all drove down from Los Alamos, and they ended up in White Sands, New Mexico.
White Sands.
And in White Sands, New Mexico, they blew up the first atomic test, right? Above ground atomic test, if I'm not mistaken. Pardon me if my math is wrong, or any of my, or whatever I might be stating is wrong. I'm a 6th grade freaking, education kid over here. But what I do know is they took the bomb that they developed there in Los Alamos, and I'm literally pointing my hand to Los Alamos. Boom. And they took it that way, and I'm pointing my finger to White Sands Missile Range. White Sands Missile Range is like 100 miles that way.
I think so, maybe a little bit more, but
yeah, it's something
more south towards.
So it's south of us, and then in this direction is north, and then you go a little bit northwest, and that is the direction of Santa Fe and Los Alamos. And people who live here, they know about Los Alamos. There's all kinds of people who work there.
Yeah, that's like one of the biggest And people have a bunch of jobs there.
Yeah, that's one of the main reasons that the recession doesn't hit us the same way as other places, because we have so many government employees here. We have 2 national labs within this metro complex that you would call Santa Fe and Albuquerque. We have 2 national labs. We have 1 Air Force base. And that's in our area, you know what I mean, of however many million people. We have a ton of people that are employed by the government.
Yeah.
And they don't stop getting paid. The national labs and all that. I could be ignorant to the fact, but from what my knowledge is, they don't stop getting paid. So the economic effects of a lot of things that happen in other places don't hit us as hard because we have that to fall back on.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure there still are like essential workers, things that has to be done that they're doing, working on like special weapons and
oh god, defense. Imagine the defense that's here. They're sending people all the time from out of state. All the time, I meet people from Virginia, and what we do. They come from Virginia. They come from California. They come from all over the places, from these places that have government and technology, and they combine them here. I don't know if this is the reason, but Facebook chose Albuquerque.
Yeah.
It's just right, 20 miles south of our current location.
It's in Los Lunas.
Is the giant a data factory or the data storage facility that they're building out there.
And it's just servers, like just where data is stored.
Just data storage, and it's a giant. I met a guy who was a steel worker. Now, a steel worker puts up these girders, and then he makes these giant erected buildings, and that houses the servers. And that's all it is. He's making these huge areas that would house multiple Walmarts out there in Los Lunas. If you drive, you can drive 10 minutes, 15 minutes south of our current location here in Albuquerque, and you can drive to Los Lunas, and off to the side of the highway, you'll see these giant buildings. And they're just continuing because they said they were going to build X, and then they ended up doubling that or something to that effect, the amount of building and space and storage they were going to have in Los Lunas. It went from, we're going to have this much, to boom, boom, we're going to have double that much. So that's that.
I've never seen them. I've heard about them, but I've never seen them.
The buildings are pretty impressive.
Yeah, I got to check out the building.
It's wild. It's wild.
And they did. There's more jobs that opened up and stuff now. That thanks to it. I mean, fucking.
The economy, Los Lunas' economy, and Los Lunas as a town has blown up because the people that are coming from all over the country to work in that facility, be it however many jobs it is, that many people are coming. And what they do is they buy homes and they spend their money in the community, and then they demand services too. They want a dry cleaner, they want a restaurant, they want a fast food joint, they want a gas station, they want all those things. And Los Lunas had those things, but now because of the people that are there, it's expanding, and Los Lunas doesn't look like Los Lunas anymore because of Facebook and because Facebook came, So when it comes to New Mexico, there's all kinds of wild stuff that is happening here. Like you said, the labs alone and the fact that they disemboweled all the information of Lazar. How weird is that? You know what I mean? And what did he work on? And the people that they interview that he took, there was a specific person. I don't know who that name is right, what the name is right now. But there was a specific person that he took on an interior tour of Los Alamos, walking around like he knew everybody, and everybody said hi to him. And then here is Los Alamos saying that they don't know who he is. That's pretty bonkers.
That is crazy.
If you go out to Fort Hills, not to keep rambling about it, but if you go out to Fort Hills, there's a thing that is probably like a quarter-mile long that looks like this. And it's like a wooden structure that you can see from like the freeway if you really look down into the base. I'm like, what is that for? It's like a rail for like testing explosives and stuff.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Because I know even up towards Meadow Lake and stuff, there's a big chunk of land that the Kirtland Air Force Base has still to themselves.
Yeah.
And when you Google Maps over that area, it looks like just obviously like craters that like from explosions and shit like that.
That is freaking bonkers.
And it makes me think just like what more that this state has like gone through and done. Because we're just talking about like future stuff right now, like aliens and like what we've gone through in history and shit like that. Technology wise, we haven't even gotten into our indigenous past.
Man,
dude,
wild. You know, the fact that
the native cultures here,
the odd thing is, you know, it's strange that the labs are here where it's like, I don't know, like 30, 40 miles from one of the oldest cities. That's the third oldest city in America is Santa Fe.
Yeah.
And so next to one of the oldest cities is a labs tucked away in the mesa.
Yeah.
And it's weird that it's here. You know what I mean? And they say it's strategic because it'd be hard to get up to there with an army.
Okay.
And it was strategic. What was it? I can't remember the gentleman, the Manhattan Project, the guy who ran the Manhattan Project. I wish I could remember his name. But he specifically went up that direction and found that spot and started building the labs there on purpose because it's just so... I mean, if you drive up to it, you're literally like billy goating your vehicle up the side of a windy little path. And they say that it would be impossible for an army to get up there successfully, and that's why they placed it there.
Without being noticed right away and stuff. Right?
Oh, yeah, or without it being easily defended, and that's what it is. They have mesas that kind of circle it that you can actually see off in the distance and be just like, you know, easy to kill people coming in or easy to create a traffic jam. And there's not necessarily an easy way to get up there other than that road. And if you block off those areas, then you're going to protect that area pretty easily, and that's the reason that they had it up there. You know what I mean? The gentleman who started the Manhattan Project and was the gentleman who created the atomic bomb. I'll remember it.
Oh, I want to say Einstein, but it's not.
No, I can't remember the name. But the gentleman who created the atomic bomb, the guy who ran the Manhattan Project, he put it up there strategically on purpose because of the mesas.
And then it makes me think too, like, I wonder where did he learn that? Like, is it something that was, maybe he learned that from the native people? Because that's kind of what I was kind of freaking. That's what, again, we're talking about stuff that it happened just like not even that long years.
Hundreds of years ago, there was Native Americans who were doing the same thing. They would post up on mesas so they could see around them.
That was thousands of years.
No, true. Thousands of years ago, they're doing the same thing. And so he comes here where they were doing that, and he does something very similar with one of the most important military installations that the United States has ever seen. You know what I mean? Los Alamos National Lab, where they develop, they build, and then they test. All these things come out of Los Alamos National Labs.
Oppenheimer.
God, man. It's been a long day, guys.
Yeah.
I started at 9:45 chasing lowriders up the block, so I'm tired. My brain is, but Oppenheimer, he quoted the Bhagavad Gita, we all know this, guys. I'm not reciting anything that nobody already knows. This is all stuff we've been taught on other podcasts.
Yeah.
I've become death destroyer of man, and it's wild that he quoted the Bhagavad Gita when he's seen the explosion and when he's seen what he had made. And to think that all that is here, along with all the, that energy's here, along with all the energy from, like you were saying, the indigenous Southwest, the people who were here, Jesse James, right?
Yeah.
All the people who came through Albuquerque, all the people who are New Mexico famous because they had such a strong tie to the desert Southwest.
Even the trading route, there's the Route 66.
Route 66 is the only way that they brought stuff to California, correct? If I'm not mistaken, because it went around the Rocky Mountains.
Yeah.
Because the Rocky Mountains, you guys, if you haven't driven through the Rocky Mountains, oh my God. I went through Ouray Pass from Durango to Ouray. And you should Google it, you guys. It's called the $1 Million Highway. I thought I was pretty much gonna die. Since that point, am not certain I haven't died, and I'm in heaven right now, because from that point on, I'm pretty sure my van went and it went off the side of the hill, and then I died. But my soul kept going, and I'm here taking pictures.
Not only that, it fucking made it all the way across too.
Yeah. So it's one of those things that all the culture and all the everything, the cultural significance of Albuquerque, New Mexico is just amazing. It just blows me away. I never thought for 2 seconds about it when I lived in California. I never thought of what the amazing place that Albuquerque is.
You don't even know how many people think that way that live here.
No joke, dude.
Nobody understands the significance of this place.
I can drive you right now to 3 waterfalls and and within hours we could be in some of the biggest game preserves owned by the biggest land.
My grandpa's house, dude. You would flip. It's just a wood cabin in the mountains.
Right.
It's dope.
Where's it at?
It's in Penasco. It's a small town.
No. That's really weird because I've met a lot of people from Penasco, including some of my closest friends.
Yeah. So that's where my grandpa's from, and that's where I lived from. I lived there for a while during 5th grade.
Wow.
So my mom went to go live over there with my grandpa for a while. Then we moved back, and that's when we got the place in Los Lunas in Meadow Lake.
Oh, yeah.
We lived there for quite a long time. And then for my sophomore year of high school, I wanted to go live with my grandpa. So I lived with my grandpa from the age of 17 to 24. So I lived up in the mountain.
7 years outside of Espanola.
Yeah, in the mountains. And I learned so much about oh, dude, you don't even know what the stars look like unless you're out there, dude. Oh, man. I've seen some beautiful shit out there. Learned some cool shit.
So where you lived for 7 years?
7 years.
Okay, let me describe it for you folks, okay?
Dude, beautiful.
As somebody who hasn't lived there, you drive from Espanola along the banks of the Rio Grande.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking banks it's sandy. It's no. You're on
cliff sides.
You're
dude.
On the cliff side of this mesa, and in the middle is the Rio Grande rushing. It's some of the best whitewater rafting.
Yeah.
In the Southwest.
Yeah, there's some sick spots there.
So you lived 5-10 minutes from some of the sickest rafting in the Southwest.
Yeah.
It rivals the Grand Canyon and all those other places. People, it's world class.
Not only that, I lived about an hour away from one of the world's top resorts for skiing.
Boom.
Taos Ski Valley.
Taos Ski Valley is world famous. So
people from all over go there to ski.
Okay, so in the summer, the water that rushes down off of Taos is the water that people go through on the rapids through the Rio Grande.
Yeah, and that branches off into beautiful arroyos, beautiful ditches.
Oh
when I was living up there with my grandpa, my auntie, because in those neighborhoods, it's kind of like a family thing.
Yes.
So you're on the main road of Chamizal, which is just a little part of Penasco.
I know Penasco all too well.
And then all of a sudden you start to go down a little road, and that little road is called Lower Ojito.
Yeah.
And pretty much everybody on that road is my family.
Wow.
Like, you know, Auntie Bella, cousin Jerry's up there. Then we go to my grandpa's house, and his like has a nice little spot. And everybody there kind of works together to still like grow farming food and stuff like that. But they have to hire people to like walk through the ditches of like it, dude. It's at least like 7 to 10 miles where you're just walking in the ditch and cleaning it up.
Wow.
And if you don't have family members, like if my grandpa didn't have somebody to go do it, he would have to hire somebody for him. And same thing for my other family members, because not all my family members live there. There were some other people, like there was some white people that lived there. It was a wide, like, you know, the rich people that are just like, oh, I love this location. I'm buying land here.
Yeah, and I'm going to build myself a little cottage.
This house here.
Yeah.
And then they end up hiring people like, oh, well, I don't want to clean my ditch. Can I hire one of the locals to do it? So they do that a lot too. And it's just fun because you meet a lot of people. You see beautiful land, and you're just like, literally, like, it's just like the bear of back in the day, dude. Like,
it's pretty amazing.
Just fucking, oh, dude, cleaning up ditches, just being able to see, like, oh man, thanks to me, I actually helped this little spot.
And when you're saying cleaning the ditches, let me explain to people just a little bit. When he says clean the ditches, what he means is he's taking out debris that prevents water flow, because those ditches provide water to crops.
Yeah.
So you're not just cleaning a ditch that goes to nowhere. These are what brings the water from the mountain to your fields that provide the farming, the water for the farming that you guys are talking about, that you guys are doing.
Yeah.
So when you clean out ditches, you're not doing it because you want a cleaner ditch. You're not doing it because you want to
appeal or anything like that.
You're not putting it up on Instagram and saying, hey, you know, whatever the trash tag is, whatever it is, you know, you're not doing it for that. You're doing it because it is an absolute necessity on a farm to have the water flowing into your farm. And those ditches bring you your water, and that's why you clean them.
It's dope. And it just looks amazing. It's a great experience to learn how to do it and stuff. It blows me away.
To walk through wilderness on a path that's been beaten down for 100 years, because you're not the first Lopez to go out there.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And pull up trash out of the ditch. So that path has been walked down by hundreds of years of your ancestors, because there's not a way that you get the property or your family acquires the property other than it being handed down from one family member to the next. And that's how you were there. That's because your grandfather was probably given it to him by somebody else. And we're talking every time that's been handed down, people, that's 100 years probably.
Oh, yeah. I just can't even imagine how it even started there.
Right.
It blows me away just to imagine how my great-grandma probably started land there and stuff.
And this is when it was, you were out there being self-sustainable. It wasn't like today where you're going to live off the grid and it's green and you have all these solar panels. You had to go retrieve your water.
Yeah.
Because there's no plumbing. And I'm not telling you, I'm telling them.
Yeah.
Your house in Pataca at one point, right? It's Pataca, Peñasco. Your house in Peñasco, and as well as Pataca, which is another town here in New Mexico, they didn't have running water. They didn't have sewer. So you had an outhouse. Did you guys still have an outhouse, or did you guys have plumbing?
No, they had plumbing.
Okay.
But there were still a lot of other places where
the place you guys lived was maybe made, but at the same time too, it could have been modernized with plumbing.
Yeah, over time. Like if you go, like my grandpa's house is actually designed just by logs. Like it's a log cabin. It's really nice. The way he did it is cool. But you see over time where it was what it was, and now what it is.
Yes.
Like it's obviously took time to modernize it, improve it and stuff. But literally, it was just a log cabin with like there's probably not even a bathroom in there. The outhouse was in the back, like
outhouse. Okay, so then the log cabin is made out of logs, right? Let's deduce it. And so the logs come from where?
That's just the area around it.
Right there.
Yeah.
So they literally went and they said, we need a house, guys. And they cut down trees. How many of you and your homies are down to go cut trees down to go build a house. We're not talking about just build a house. We're talking about going and
foraging the material for it.
Yes, not just cutting down any trees, but cutting down the
specific trees.
Yeah, the big ones that are like perfectly straight that are going to be good for making this cabin. And it might have been one person, it might have been a couple people, but imagine convincing people today to go out, find a tree, and then cut it down and bring it back to point A, you know what I mean? And then do that 100 times.
Yeah, because now that's kind of like a special commodity.
Oh my God! There's the guys that make those log homes.
Yeah,
they make huge bank. They make huge bank. We did a house that was a log cabin that they built offsite, like in a different state. They built it and they put it together and they erected it, and then they disassembled it and put it on trucks, and then they came out here and they built themselves a little house first. So it's a little shed that they lived in.
Okay.
And the reason they built that is so they could live in it, so that they can build the main house as it comes on trucks.
Oh, okay.
So as the house arrives, they're building it and they live in that little shed. And then when they're done, you have a matching little log house shed
that goes with the house.
Yeah, and it's a shed, but it's where the guys lived while they did the house, because it takes years to erect a log cabin nowadays. And it takes years before it gets to the place that it's going to live forever.
Yeah.
And then once it gets there, it takes another couple years possibly to actually finish a home.
Oh yeah,
a log cabin.
Just to build it and then inside and all that.
That's with modern technology, transportation, and everything else.
No.
When that cabin that you're talking about,
my grandpa's cabin, was
built, what in the hell did they have to go through, guys?
The best probably technology was...
And you and I have never seen it.
Yeah.
The struggle and the heartache to get that log cabin built.
That's crazy to think about. Like, I actually do want to have my grandpa on the podcast, see if I can actually get some stories.
You were talking about your mom and your grandpa and all these people.
The family. Just to kind of get an understanding of really where I came from and stuff.
Imagine sitting here asking your grandpa, how did you get the farm?
Dude, the first thing I'm going to ask my grandpa is be like, do you remember the first girl you had sex with?
That's what you want to know.
I want to know how pimp my grandpa was when he was younger.
He's like, mijito, I was 10 and she was 35. But listen.
I don't know how deep he would go into it, but I don't even know if he would remember. That's crazy.
No. And how old is your grandfather now?
He's probably like about to be... his late 70s or early 80s.
So there's another thing. There's a thing to be said about hard work. Hard work makes strong people, right?
That's true.
Strong people last forever, man. If your grandpa wasn't out there on the farm, how old would he have? How old would he be if he were to pass away a long time ago? You know what I mean? Because he didn't do all that. You know what I mean? You talk about cardio.
Dude,
I talk about freaking backbone.
That's what scares me, is that I work at an elderly home.
Yes.
I work in the kitchen at an elderly home, and I see these old people in their 60s, early 50s.
Younger than your grandfather, who is all the time hauling wood and rock and...
on the bare end of life. It's sad.
Dude, it's wild.
It's so bad. I'm just like, how did this happen? And I'm gonna like bash on my grandpa a little bit, but my grandpa does some drugs still to this day that are just like, what the heck? Why are you doing that, Grandpa? You're so old. You shouldn't even be doing that. I mean, I understand he smokes weed. He likes to drink a little bit.
Hey, now remember Little Miss Sunshine, the movie? In there, the grandfather was shooting heroin. And why was he doing heroin? His reasoning behind doing heroin, and I understand it's a fictional character that was written by somebody, but it's pretty genius, is why not do drugs when you're old? I'm almost out of here anyway. And that's what his philosophy was in that movie, and it was a hilarious philosophy. Because look at your grandfather.
Yeah, he can do whatever he wants.
You know, he's already seen it all. Like he's seen so much. He might not even, to our understanding, he might not even be able to remember the first person he had sex with.
Yeah.
That is freaking bonkers, you know, because it's been so far removed from who he is today.
Yeah.
And to think that amount of time and all the things he's seen, you know what I mean? Like you said, it's pretty bonkers.
I could just imagine where the places he's been to, just what he's seen.
It's pretty awesome. I mean, and also too, anybody you're out there that you have an old family member, talk to that person, get them drunk. You know what I mean? Like
just talk.
Just talk. You know, to put down the phone and just like talk to an older person is pretty wild, because everybody has a story of how they this and how they. Why are we sitting here on this podcast? If nobody had a story, this wouldn't exist, buddy. Right. And so we're here because everybody's got a story to tell, and everybody's story is unique and interesting.
Did you see the documentary on Netflix called Tiger King?
Oh, dude.
Did you hear about it or know about it?
I've heard about it, and I started watching some of it, but I don't like sit down and watch it to consume a ton of like documentaries and Netflix as much as I want to. But I did sit down and watch like an hour of the first episode.
Okay, so you know how crazy it is, right? It's just a little out there. It's a little weird.
Yeah.
It's the things people do.
Yeah.
What somebody told me was like, your podcast is bringing out the Tiger King in everybody. Like, I want to know everyone's story.
Yeah.
And it should be as wild as Tiger King. Like,
Yeah,
who
true.
doesn't have a wild or
true,
crazy
man.
story?
That's
or who doesn't
wild.
have an experience that just blows people away, you know?
Or who doesn't have an experience that is completely uniquely them?
Yeah, exactly.
Because we're all different and individual, and every minute of our day determines the next, right? So your minute of your day is completely different than the minute of my day. Because my day, just like this morning, or like when is this the third podcast today?
No, this is the second.
So this being the second podcast today, while you were doing a podcast, I was running around with a camera in my hand. And those 2 minutes of life in this world we call, whatever we call existence or whatever it might be, those 2 minutes are completely different. That brings us to a completely different ultimate conclusion that we are right now. Oh, wait, right now. Oh, wait, right now. You know what I mean? Every minute brings us to
The second,
the
whatever
next,
is happening.
So there's no 2 people who have had the exact same experience. Because even if they did have the same experience, this person had it from the left side and this person had it from the right side, right?
Yeah.
So your experience, folks, you listening right now, your experience is unique. Just like his is and just like mine. I could never have told you that you would have told me tonight that you lived on a farm for 7 years of your life in one of the most remote parts of, maybe not the most remote, but one of a very remote part of New Mexico.
It's very sick.
Like, there's not a Walmart. There's not. Is there a major grocery store?
Right when I left, they barely built a Family Dollar.
So the Family Dollar is pretty prolific, putting their stores in places that there's nothing.
Yeah, and it's still not in the actual. It's not by my grandpa's house. It's more
closer to Dixon or something.
towards more the like, it's in Penasco.
Oh, okay.
Again, once you start driving down, you go through Espanola, and then through Espanola you go through the back road, and then you go, like you said, there's Dixon, there's Embudo, there's Rio Lucio, and then they're not that far away from each other either. You drive like maybe 5 miles, there's the next one. Drive 2 miles, there's the next. Take a left, oh, there's this one. It's crazy how it works.
And isn't it weird too? And just by listening to you describe the way that you went into Penasco, isn't it weird how you can drive and know where you're going in the middle of nowhere and be like, oh yeah, coming up after this White House is where I got to turn left. Yeah. And you're like in the middle of the woods, like literally like back in there, you're driving through woods. If you're going the back way from Tesuque, or if you're going the back way from like Powake, or the City of Gold Casino.
That's there.
If you go the back way from City of Gold to Penasco, you're going through some of the most lush forest that you'll ever see. It is a national forest. Yeah. I don't know which one it is.
Kit Carson, I think, or something like that.
Kit Carson National Forest. There's camping. There's like just so much stuff, hiking, camping, climbing, all kinds of stuff in that national forest. That is something that you have to drive through to get from point A to point B to go to where he's saying, where he drove to. And it is crazy, the forest out there. You got to go drive through it. Yeah. Google, make it a point, bucket list, guys. Go to Kit Carson National Forest, man. It's freaking amazing.
There's some sick places there. It's beautiful.
It's wild. Out that way is just the scenery. I'll have to get my camera out and go out that way one day and just kind of show everybody, you know, and we'll post it up on your Facebook and stuff, and we'll get some good footage of you know, what I want to do this summer. I'm very excited to, is, well, this summer now, you know, like in June, is to go to one of our favorite spots is the Jemez Falls.
Oh, nice.
Have you been to Jemez Falls?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I love jumping in Jemez Falls. It's like a religious experience, you know?
There's some sick spots.
Yeah, and I can't wait to get my GoPro down in there because it's waterproof. You know what I mean?
Nice.
So I'm going to get underneath the waterfalls and jump in there like I normally do.
And get the shots from the waterfall into it.
Hopefully I don't lose my damn GoPro in the freaking waterfall because there's all kinds of like little crevices and stuff. It's pretty gnarly. So, you know, the area that you lived in on a farm, getting back to my original point, is really beautiful, and it is freaking bonkers to know that you lived back there for 7 years of your life.
Yeah, then it kind of like, I remember it more as like it's kind of like right here,
Yep.
this area.
Mm-hmm.
This is exactly where my grandpa lived, in this area. And then with the satellite image, you kind of can see more of the terrain and stuff like that. But all of this is all mountains. The
fact that you guys actually farmed on that terrain too is pretty amazing. There's some of the best apples in the world, right? Apparently in Dixon.
Yeah, Dixon is really
which is
famous for that.
Yeah, famous, world famous apples. There is wineries out there because the grapes are so unique. They say that you know, it's just the flavors that come out of the grapes that come out of this area that you guys are seeing on the screen that is just north of us. The grapes, the fruit that come out of this area is really, really like world famous. It's really amazing. People come from all over the world. They go to Taos, and then they drive down to Penasco. They drive down to Dixon.
Route, yeah.
They drive down to Dixon, and they drive down and they buy honey. They buy apples. They buy all kinds of stuff. And when I go out that way, I always make sure to buy honey, man. Honey is so good for you. And it's so good when you can buy a fresh jar of honey that was just made right there.
Right, yeah.
You know, Taos is very unique because you can go buy like a $4 little jar of like honey, or you can go buy like a $400,000 piece of art.
Oh, yeah.
The same freaking city, the same little town. It's such a known for its art, right?
And it's so crazy to think about too. Is like it's a tourist attraction, but yet there's still like, it doesn't seem like it's like, you know, really, they want to keep it as like
little town as possible,
as cultured, as little, no improvements at all, just to keep
There's
that.
no big buildings.
Yeah,
There's no big buildings, and then
all Pueblo style buildings.
Yep, all those Pueblo style buildings because that's what the city council wants. You know what I mean? That's what they approve. Building codes run the world. So when it comes down to it, they have certain colors you can't be using in the middle of town.
Even I think the McDonald's, if I remember, it looks like it's an
Adobe building.
Thing,
yeah, it looks like an Adobe McDonald's, and you know, Taos has a massive cultural history too. The amount of indigenous people and Hispanos that lived in Taos over the years. I think Taos is one of the oldest cities in the world too. You know what I mean? In the country,
it's more older than the United States, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think both of them are, right. Both Santa Fe and Taos are older than the United States.
Taos Pueblo. There is a Pueblo there.
Yep, and that's what basically Taos is. It's Taos Pueblo, and the greater Taos Pueblo is what has equaled Taos today as we know it. So it's bonkers. So in the past half an hour, we've talked about New Mexico places. We've talked about the labs, Air Force bases, the mountains, the northern mountains. We've talked about Kit Carson. We've talked about
national parks,
waterfalls, and all this stuff. And that's everywhere around Albuquerque. And then here we are. We also talked about how the amount of lowriders here, the amount of cars, the amount of culture. New Mexico is just really bonkers. It's amazing that you have a podcast here as opposed to
in Oregon talking about all the cool stuff in New Mexico.
Dude, you could be in like Nebraska right now, you know what I mean, and not have as much content as you do right here. The same thing I was talking about an hour ago, you know.
I can, but I would just be talking about another place.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. So the same thing I was talking about an hour ago is the fact that I don't have to go anywhere to do what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
Which is filming vehicles. I don't have to go travel, get on a plane, do all this stuff to go out and find some like 10 of the nicest vehicles that anybody's ever seen in one spot, and we do it here. Not only that, they build atomic weapons here. Then they build the next ray gun. The amount of contractors too that work for the government. So when I say contractors, I'm talking about like Raytheon and like Boeing or like Lockheed Martin.
Okay.
Like all those places have offices here specifically because they're working on things for
the
government or the labs. So if you look up all the big corporations that are here in Albuquerque, and a lot of them are here because they have some kind of government contract, and it might not even be that big of a thing. It might be something that might even resemble this little cap here, but it might do something, and they manufacture it here. Drones, Lockheed Martin. There's probably a lot of design that comes from right here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And a lot of those weapons that we're using all over the place, there's a lot of design and maybe manufacturing that goes on somewhere else, but the design and ideas and the
blueprint, probably everything.
The contracts and the stuff, they come from Albuquerque. It's really, really an oddball place.
It's all written on there too. I love that. Like it's all just
it's there. You can look it up. There's it's all there for you guys to find. So many things that lead back to Albuquerque when it comes to government contracts. So many things that lead back to Albuquerque when it comes to some of the indigenous things, and that's two ends of the spectrum and everything in between. And that's why, that's one of the things I've been doing is trying to highlight everything about New Mexico too. You know what I mean? I want to go out and expand into, landscapes and stuff. That'd be amazing. Because what I joked about before I ever bought a camera or took a single picture with intentions to share it with the world is when I retire, I want to go back through these places I've driven through and take pictures of them, because I'm doing 70 miles an hour to get to a job site that's out in the middle of Timbuktu, New Mexico, and I pass all this stuff. And then I go to like Costco and Walmart, and I look at like the boxes where they sell these TVs, and like they have an image on there, and it'll be like a Mesa that I drove past like an hour or two ago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'll go to Costco and they're selling this like 65-inch TV, and it has this stunning picture on it. And you look at it and it's like, oh, that's the Desert Southwest. Oh, wait, that's Route 66 or something to that effect. And it's amazing how many people see in their daily life an image of New Mexico on some kind of advertising or something that they don't realize is here. You know what I mean? That originates from here.
Yeah, from anything.
And if it doesn't originate from here, it's Utah or Colorado or any of the Four Corners. Arizona, Colorado, Utah, New Mexico, the Four Corners. That area of the world is so picturesque.
Like landscape
City is in the Four Corners area. And we're not too far off the Four Corners. And everywhere outside of Albuquerque, including inside of Albuquerque, is stunning.
And that's the beautiful thing to think about too, is like if you just go south, that's like some of like desert land area, like that so flat land, but then you go up north and that's where the mountain peaks, and that's all in just one place.
One state.
Yeah.
One state. You go from I was talking to somebody from Canada, and they were like, "Oh, you've never seen anything?" I said, No, you have no idea how New Mexico is. It's one of the best kept secrets. It's the reason that there's so many famous people that move here. You know what I mean? Hey, can I use the bathroom real quick?
Go for it.
You talk, and then I'll use the bathroom, and I'll hurry back.
You guys,
I'm sorry.
For it. No,
sorry,
you're
man.
Cool, man. You're
Give
cool.
me 2 seconds.
What's up, guys? Thank you guys for joining. I see you guys, bunch of people in the comment section dropping some shit. Kate, you were bugging quite a bit. Billie Jean, love, all kinds of stuff. What the heck? Christmas Trooper, what is up? He actually needed to go use the bathroom. So is that who you're talking about? If you do, I appreciate it. Thank you guys for joining. I'm here hanging out with Josh. He's a independent photographer / filmmaker, getting some shit done. What is that? Madan avocado. Do you like avocado? Let me know if you guys like avocado in the comment section. We're just here hanging out, just shooting some ideas. If you guys have never known or heard of anything about New Mexico is amazing. Guys, check it out. Beautiful pictures, beautiful landscape, a lot of greatness. Christmas Trooper, that's too much for me to talk about. Talk about these avocados.
Oh, avocados?
I don't even know what specific avocados, but
so
that's what made it.
I want you guys, I'm sorry to just interject as I come back on. There was a Vice documentary about avocados.
Okay.
In Michoacan, Mexico. And you got to look it up because it's pretty bonkers where avocados come from. And Vice, they do crazy documentaries. And when I'm out of town, I watch a lot of Vice documentaries because it's very interesting, all the stuff that they cover. But Vice has a Vice Mexico division. And on their Mexico division, I think, there's a documentary about avocados. And there's like a freaking war over avocados in Michoacan with the cartels and like these police that are... They're not state run. They're like militia police that patrol the city. And then like there's cartels who own like the rights to avocados. It's very, very bonkers. So the person who says talk about the avocados, I'm not too sure what they're talking about. But whenever you think about an avocado, you should go and watch this Vice documentary because it'll change the way you look at a simple avocado because of the consumerism that we have in America. We have such a high demand, so we bring stuff from all over because we want an avocado in January and we want one in July and we want one in October, and it's not always in season everywhere. So down in Michoacan, Mexico, there is a place where they can grow avocados like
year round almost.
I don't know if it's year round, but for more time than most places. So when you find an avocado too, you can see where it's originated from. There's some restaurants when you drive up, they have it on there. They have it on their window.
Avocado from Mexico.
From Michoacan, Mexico.
Oh, shit.
It's weird. And the fact that there's a documentary that nobody talks about the avocado industry and its ties to the cartels and stuff is amazing. It's amazing.
I saw this documentary on Netflix one time too about kind of the same thing, but it was talking about garlic.
Weird.
Garlic, but the great thing about it is that it was actually talking about a garlic farmer in New Mexico. Yeah, it's pretty sick documentary. I'll have to show you what you check it out. But this guy was actually battling somebody from China because China is actually the biggest distributor of garlic in the world. Oh
my God, because it's in all the Asian food.
Yeah, dude, and not only that, everywhere, dude. Everywhere. Wow. Everyone loves garlic, dude.
That is crazy.
So this guy was going up against China and stuff.
Yeah.
And the coolest thing about this whole thing is that there was a few people that were involved in this thing, but one of them was actually my high school teacher when I lived in Penasco. Yeah. He had a garlic farm up there.
Wow.
Yeah, he was doing garlic. And I didn't know any of this. I moved out. I knew he had a farm or anything like that. But then a documentary came out. And then like a year later, I finally watched it. And then I was like, oh my God, I fucking know who it is.
It's like the Zero Dreams of Sushi of garlic. And you were like closely tied to those people.
Yeah, he was my history teacher.
My
history teacher.
Now you spent 8 months of your life or 7 months of your school life going to his class every day?
Yeah, every day. And he was a drama director, so I took drama that year too.
Dude, so you had two classes
I learned
with
a lot
one of the
freaking
mobsters of garlic.
Yeah, his name is Irvin Katz. He's a really cool guy.
Irvin Katz.
Yeah, Mr. Katz called him.
Wow.
Dope. He's a dope dude.
And see, so whenever we look at the comments of talk about avocados, that is freaking pretty, it's pretty heady stuff because look at all the stuff.
We got all of that just out of him saying avocados.
But at the same time, too, that also brings us to, if you really think about it, if you really expand and go down that rabbit hole, is what we're dealing with right now is food supply.
Oh, yeah.
And food chains. Meat
the most, dude.
What a freaking bonkers thing.
Whoever thought meat was going to be something scarce, dude.
Dude, like the production of meat and the consumer and the amount of people, I almost think, did we at one point that we don't know recently hit the tipping point in the food? Because even with people out of work, or before people were out of work, there was talk of the amount of people we're having to feed every day.
Okay.
In the world. Like we're having to feed 8 billion people a day. So that takes a lot of work and a lot of resources to make that much food. So then the pandemic comes along and it causes places that make food to not be able to make food. And that's where we are right now. So whenever there's these documentaries about avocados or garlic, you got to understand that the system we knew in the middle of February that we had grown from hundreds of years of creating a system of supply to a demand, it's now altered forever.
Yeah, it's weird.
Hundreds of years of work is now forever altered because of something that had happened that nobody had any control over. Isn't that freaking weird to think about?
It is weird.
It is weird.
Maiden Price was like, is the avocado a fruit or vegetable?
Oh, dang.
I mean, I've never really thought about it either.
I had a friend who was allergic to avocado. And he said the other thing he was allergic to, because they're very similar, and the only reason I may say it's a fruit, is because he was also allergic to banana.
Oh, really?
He was allergic to banana and avocado. He said there's something that's very similar to them, so I would call avocado a fruit.
There you go. You guys heard it here, folks.
Both fruit. I'm telling you. I'm the expert, okay? Just, go away from the internet. Just type in Josh and expert.
You'll find
and
it.
You'll find avocados.
Maiden Price also was talking about my teacher. It's like says Jewish teacher, Irvin Katz. So yeah, that's that. I'm pretty sure he was.
When you went into class, it was just like 30 psychiatrist couches. That's what I envisioned just now. And he's sitting there with you guys. So, class, how are you feeling today?
How's today's class?
Cats, because he's a Jewish psychiatrist.
All right. Hosh, I don't know if exactly. What's up? Shout out. He says hello from Germany.
Dang, dude, that's awesome.
Thank you for telling us. What's up? How's it going out there? What's it like out there? We're from America.
Yeah.
Specifically, New Mexico.
Growing up, I'm going to tell you, I got all these different ties, but growing up, I had a best friend growing up, and he was half, and this was in Santa Rosa, California, he was half Mexican, and he was half German. So every alternating summer when we got out of school, one summer he would stay home, and then the following summer after school, he would go to Frankfurt, Germany.
Oh, shit.
He was a Mexican kid, similar to us, dark Mexican kid, and he could speak freaking German. And his mom was Elizabeth. She was a first generation or first generation, or not even first generation. I think she came over, and that might be first generation. She came over with her parents.
Okay.
And then she met a Mexican man, and it made my best friend Eric Chavez. And Eric, he's like fluent in like German, but he's like a Mexican kid.
Oh, shit.
So they would import him out to Germany every year, and out to Frankfurt.
Dang.
Yeah, and so I grew up with half German, half Mexican homie. Nice. Yeah, it's pretty dope. So hey, shout out to Germany. And then also too, I work with a guy who was there during the fall of the wall.
Oh, the Berlin Wall.
And what he said is he didn't go. A lot of his friends were going to go the day it fell or something like that, and he didn't go because he stayed back to read. I think it was the Seven Rings, or the Lord of the Rings books.
Oh, shit.
He was reading that series, and he said, "I'm just gonna geek out on this book because I really like reading.
I don't got to worry about that."
Yeah. Anyway, so there you go. Carry on from Germany. Thank you. I appreciate that.
That's it.
Yeah, Germany's pretty wild.
Impressive. He said he always enjoys the interview stream. So thanks again. We're just here hanging out.
I'm glad you like it, man.
Chatting.
That's cool. It's very cool to hear people from the other side of the world, enjoy what we're chatting about.
Yeah.
And that's what I enjoy about this relationship, because every time I walk in the door over here with this guy into Podcast Central, we start having these like deep conversations, and I'm like, whoa. Let's not talk about that. and then we save it for the podcast. So that's why we have all this kind of stuff. We have deep conversations.
Yeah, there's always something, and there's always something intellectual or something interesting to talk about. Yeah. I feel.
Yeah. Oh, there's always something, especially in this ever-changing world.
Yeah, you could always find something. Madden was like, I do like the pottery, clay pots, and artistry. I wonder if she was talking about the natives or Germany.
She has to be talking about the native New Mexican clay pottery. Now, the clay pottery that's out here, oh my god, and some of the stuff that they've dug up, archaeologically dug up out of some of these pueblos and these sites that they've dug up, they're digging up pots and stuff that were from some of the earliest cultures, and they're right here in New Mexico, and they have art on them. They're like painted and adorned with like with like stripes and all these like.
He said, "Sorry, I'm a guy."
I'm
You're
sorry.
okay.
I'm sorry, dude.
We love you anyways.
I'm sorry, dude.
Either way, but
no, yeah. So when
the art on them,
the art and everything else that that they've pulled out of the ground here in New Mexico that have been significant archaeological finds is pretty amazing too. Another thing you guys have to Google is New Mexico Archaeology and the pottery alone. And to this day, I know for a fact that there is ancestors or the newest generations of families that have been making stuff for years that are here. One of my cousins is a derivative of a Rochelle, which is my last name, and my aunt, and his father is a Fragua from Jemez Pueblo. The Fraguas are famous for art out of Jemez Pueblo. And if you look up that name, Fragua, you know what I mean? It's pretty much similar to the French sounding name, but that's a name that they have here, and it's famous for art. And there's a lot of Fraguas that are artists that have just been prolific in their art.
How do you spell it?
Fragua?
Yeah.
I don't know. Fragua? Fragua? Like Fragua. It's a French name. And then, it's the history of Native Americans having these European names too. That's a whole nother world, dude.
Yeah, I know this one guy who has a last name that's French.
And Rochelle is a French derivative name, also my last name, and we're Native American. The Native American and Spanish from Southern California has a Rochelle name. Now the Rochelle name, my grandfather says it's an undercover Mexican name. You know what I mean? But it's a French derivative name, and when I go back into my 23andMe, I look up underneath French. I don't have very much, if any. It's very odd.
La Rochelle.
There you go. Now,
Little Rock.
So Rochelle too. The Port of Rochelle. Google that. Google the Port of Rochelle. When I googled my name, I popped up a Port of Rochelle was where the Knights Templar left Europe out of, if I'm not mistaken. The Port of Rochelle.
La Rochelle is a port city in southern France.
Yeah.
Located by the bay.
Yeah, and
since 1988.
So if you were to, it is also the capital of all departments in 1988. The town is connected to Le Rochelle. So if you keep going through some of the information, you'll eventually find, from what I found, I could be wrong again, is that's where the Templars left Europe.
It makes sense.
Is out of Rochelle, which is very strange that we have that name. But it's I think it has, from the understanding I have, my name is derivative of the French-Indian War, and we were pretty much like some derivatives of that war from both sides.
Oh, okay.
The French-Indian, but then again, too, we don't have, in our 23andMe, I don't have any French in me, but I don't, it's just very odd that we could carry that name for so long, And just like you were saying, you'd love to talk to your grandfather about that. I'd love to talk to, even my grandfather's father, if I could.
Just
and which I can't, because he's deceased. But that'd been pretty wild to understand where those names came from.
Because that's just one side of our. That's what I love about growing up too. Is that's just one side of our history. Like we could follow our genealogy of going to our mother's side or our father's side, and then that just takes you into another rabbit hole.
Which again makes my theory of everybody being completely different rock solid. You know what I mean? Because we all come from different places. Two people made each and every one of us. Two people did, because none of us are test tube babies. Two people came from opposite ends of whatever world it might have been. It might have been the world that it was a town, but they came from opposite ends and met, you know what I mean? Or they could have came from very similar areas and met and produced you and me and you. You know, and then that moment. Yeah, exactly. And that's uniqueness within itself. And we're all unique.
But this is going into like the whole, let me just blow everyone's fucking mind away with dumb bullshit, but like the multiverse.
Okay.
Or like multiple universes that are happening right now.
They say there's something like some kind of odd.
Infinite.
Yeah.
Infinite. Infinite.
So
infinite.
In one amalgamation of universe, there's one where I jump over this table and I choke you to death on this fucking podcast.
Yeah. One where you're the host and I'm talking to you.
Exactly. And then there's one where we're sitting on
You still have your hat on.
Yeah, and then there's another one where we're sitting on our fucking faces, because that's how we sit in that amalgamation.
Every possibility you can think of is out there.
There's even one universe where I'm sitting on that side and he's sitting on this side.
Yeah, it's all a possibility.
Yeah, it's just,
where does that? That's what always blows me away as growing up and stuff, because I grew up kind of in a religious family.
Yeah,
like my mom has been religious and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but coming up with science and learning shit like that, it's just like, what the fuck? Like, how do I believe in my religion anymore when shit like this happens?
Yeah.
Like,
or the way I look at it is, how does, in one way or another, that can support some of the stuff that we're taught in religion.
Or kind of,
it's weird, because then you can go back to some of the, you can use science to go back in the Bible. People have done this. This is something I'm making up, but people go back into the Bible, and with scientific theories, kind of like equate what has happened in that story to something that could have really happened, like the acacia bush. Or like the burning bush in Moses.
Yeah.
They say that the acacia plant could have been what he was consuming, which made him envision a burning bush that was telling him things. And that's in the book. So if you really think about it, science can actually help you understand what the Bible is. It can translate it for you almost. And the only reason I started looking at it that way is because Joe Rogan and like Eddie Bravo have been doing that. They've been like talking about lately. They've been talking about the Bible and how it could be like, it's a storybook, but at the same time too, it could be stories that have been handed down, that have been altered to the point that we hear them today as Moses and a burning bush. But it could have been he ate that bush and it started talking to him, or whatever it might be. You know what I mean? So there could be a different translation. And everybody out there, everybody listening, and we all have different theories as far as that goes. But if you really think about it, with technology that we have nowadays, and all this science and all these stories that have came down from thousands of years ago, you know what I mean? That happened however long after the actual existence of Jesus. We have all these stories that came out hundreds of years later. What are they meant to tell us, and what can science help us understand? And they do that all the time. There's all kinds of documentaries and shows that use science to kind of explain some of the Bible.
Because even with the Bible, you can learn so much values and morals, not even just taking it into account as an actual logical story, but just as like almost like an allegory.
And that's that's its own theory within itself. Is maybe that's why it's there, is to create a framework for societies to work better.
Yeah.
Maybe that is. Maybe it isn't. I don't know.
And that's what blows me away, is like, we don't know.
We don't know.
That's fucking crazy, because like, oh my God, especially as growing up, I was always like, it's a one way, this is how we are. Life is life. Life is like this. And then you get older and then you start to find out, holy shit, I have this much elements inside of my body. I have the periodic table outside in the living room. I freak out all the time when I look at it. I'm just like, holy fuck, all of those are inside of us.
That's
like
wild.
That blows me away in so many little details that I just can't even understand.
And then also too, if you look up fractal math, like in fractals.
Yeah.
So like there's this simple pattern of this, and it goes all the way up to that, and it's like in so much, like this fractal patterns is like in everything. So if you look at like a leaf, it has similar fractal patterns to something that's grown over or has nothing to do with.
Because I see it a lot too in anything like snowflakes or.
It's wild.
Even in fingerprints and stuff like that, you can kind of see that
fractal patterns are all around us. And that is another weird thing, because why is there so many fractal patterns that are in our world? You know what I mean? That just kind of make up all kinds of stuff. You know what I mean? You know, the star, look at the star, look at all these different fractal patterns. Now, if you scroll up a little bit, see this picture. These pictures are math problems, if I'm not mistaken, correct? And it is a repeating pattern from the inside. It's a mathematical pattern all the way around.
Yeah.
And that's weird, because then you find fractal mathematical patterns in all kinds of different things that are in the world, and it's very, very strange.
Okay, so then that's another crazy thing to think about too, because when I was growing up, I need to rewatch it. I really want to see it again. But there was this documentary where it talked about water having its own memory, its own properative memory. Yeah. So one of the great things that they did on this movie was where they would take a drop of water and instantly freeze it. Like in like instantly they'll put it in a cryogenic chamber and it'll freeze instantly, and it'll turn into a snowflake. You can see the crystal design and everything,
which is a fractal.
Yeah, what these people did though is that every time they spoke words to it, they literally had the water there and they would be like, I love you, and then instantly freeze it and take that image and then see the designs of what it did and see how beautiful and intricate it was
compared
to negative or downgraded things.
Wow.
It blew me away. I was just so...
And that's water.
I was so impressed.
That's freaking
And
bonkers.
That's just it having memorative properties. And it was totally going into this whole theory that like water's been so bastardized and we've just abused it so much that it's just hard really to give us the exact... potential need and want that we really need out of it anymore, because water now is like, it's not only is it scarce, but yet we have it all over the world.
Yeah,
but it's scarce.
That is strange.
How is that possible, dude?
It's so strange. That is very strange,
and that blows me away. Just like, again, these little things of our life growing up now, I'm just like, wow, I never even thought about that when I was in the ghetto. That shit, there was no time to think of this shit.
No, I remember going to the store with our EBT card when I was a kid.
But it makes me sad, because it makes me think when I drive down the ghetto streets, I'm just like, man, I just wish I can take that kid and just be like, hey, dude, let me teach you a little bit about the world, or let me throw something at you that you probably never thought was out there.
And if you did that, you would be the weird man that just pulled up in the car trying to talk to a kid about the world and something that is beyond maybe even his comprehension.
Dude, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, and it's just because you live that experience that you want to give that to that kid. You want to give this knowledge that you have of, hey, it's going to be okay, and if you work hard and if you do these things, you can become somebody better than what you are right now in the ghetto. But you can't come to that kid. It's the strange part,
because it's not, they wouldn't feel, I don't know how they would feel.
It's not like acceptable to just walk up to somebody and say, hey, let me try to put this knowledge into you this way. It's not, it's very strange. It's very strange. Yeah,
I love how it turned into us kind of weirded, like it seems like we're touching little kids. I want to put the knowledge into you.
Can I give you this knowledge?
Dude, I've been waiting so much. So recently, since the quarantine, maybe like in September, I started doing stand-up comedy.
Of course.
So I would go to clubs, go to bars.
I heard.
Hey guys, what's up? My name's Angel.
Yeah.
Give it up for me, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, how did you do?
It was not bad. I was learning though.
Yes.
I barely... from when I started to when the quarantine hit, I barely had 6 months in.
6 months.
Barely.
And there's a 10,000 hour rule for most things, right?
Everything. I don't give a shit what you say.
Yeah,
it's
dude.
about everything.
Yeah, just go. You have to go and get up on stage and do it.
But now we've had this big hiatus that I haven't been able to. So I feel like I'm kind of losing what I've learned already.
But you just kind of like jarred something in my memory. What I've been listening to is a lot of podcasts because I work. I've always listened to a lot of podcasts. Is comedians saying that across the board, like even like famous, profound comedians are saying that like we're all having a reset. Not we, but you guys, you comedians are all having a reset. So when it comes to when it comes to the restart of comedy, which everybody's looking forward to, when it comes to that, they say that most people are going to be starting from zero anyway. So what I'm trying to do is put a feather in your cap to tell you that the best, most prolific comedians right now are experiencing what you're experiencing, but they're farther up that ladder, so their fall is harder and further. You're very new to it.
I get what you're saying.
So congratulations.
Yeah, like
you started freaking stand up at the perfect time. You're not starting after the quarantine. You're not starting right before it. You're starting 6 months ago, which is great planning on your behalf. And when I look at the comedian and where the comedic world where it's going, you're going to be on the same rung with a lot of the high end comedians and like the very like the comedians that bring people. You know what I mean? That have a large following, huge fanship. You'll be there with them because of the fact that you're starting 6 months ago, and those people, no matter how long ago they started, are having to come down because they don't have the practice that it takes to become and maintain a comedic, repertoire. They don't have that either, just like you don't. So you guys are all kind of like in a level field now. Soon
go back at it.
Yeah, dude.
It's gonna be fun to think about too, because I know everyone. There's even been some posts from comedians that I follow and stuff now, local comedians, where they're just like, "Oh, it's gonna be weird. No hacky Corona jokes and stuff like that." I'm just like, well, who knows what's gonna happen? Like
now, also when I think about jokes and like routines and stuff, I think of the fact that the world is so different right now than it was in January or December or wherever it was that your comedy was a derivative from. Your experience, your life, that's what you create in a comedy, correct?
Yeah.
So your life and your experience is funny.
It's hard though.
No. So it's funny, for everybody. And then you go on stage and you share it. But now, after this, you don't have any of that material from before. You can't talk about Corona as much because everybody is. It's all going to be hacky. But your life and everybody else's is forever changed because of it. So how are you going to go out there and not talk about it? And how is Corona not going to affect everybody's act? Because everybody's act was their life when they made the act.
Yeah. And now they're making an act with Corona happening in their life.
Regardless if you want to or not, like Freddie Soto said, like Freddie Soto's dad, regardless if you want to or not, you're going to have this experience alter your comedy because you can't talk about the same stuff as you did before, like airplane peanuts and sitting too close to people, right? That's not funny anymore.
Yeah.
So your comedy's forever altered. Everybody's is. That's why I say you guys are all on the same level playing field. I've been low-key writing stuff down for the past like year or two of jokes because I'm a big fan of Kill Tony. Just jokes that I think of, jokes. And I have all these jokes, speaking of comedy, in my phone under notes. I have a page of them or two, and they're probably all garbage now, and they were never great before. But they're
you never know.
No, but at the same time too,
because I still have a bunch of notes in my phone waiting to try out.
And they're all trash. Angelito, I'm telling you, you have nothing now. No, I'm just joking. That was a joke. But at the same time too, your comedy will have to be different now because life is not the same as it was when you wrote those jokes.
It's true.
And some of that stuff's irrelevant. Shoot, man, I want to hear what these people are talking about.
Madden was just like, rewrite your act based off experience. And that makes sense. Just like, most of the comedy is what's funny is like what really is true.
What's true to yourself. You know what I mean? Because everybody is unique and everybody has a unique story, and it's freaking funny if you frame it that way, or if you bring it that comedy to your life, or if you live comedy.
I literally love that I can just go up on stage and be like, guess what? I hang out with the cholos.
You hang out with the cholos,
dude, and you already can see it. You can already see it. It's just like, really? Does he? I don't know. Like, it has that weird vibe to it, but yeah, it's true.
Yes,
and it's funny.
Yeah, I like how you posted that one day when we were kicking it with my cousin, and we had the lowrider there, and he had just pulled it out, and then like 2 minutes later on Instagram, it's like Angelito tagged you, or MuseMe TV tagged you in a post, and I look at the post while I'm standing next to the lowrider, and it says, "I'm hanging with the cholos tonight at Flores of Boot Camp." I'm I was thinking to myself, "Dang, I guess we are the cholos, bro. We're
hanging out with the cholos,
hanging out with the cholos." And then the next post was like pimp, and it was like lowriders, and anyway. Again, please. I love the comment section.
Alex T was just like, bro, I never thought about this until you guys talked about this transition now. Also, what's up, my dudes? Thank you.
What's up, buddy?
Just hanging out.
It's true, though. You know what I mean? The fact that we've all came through this window in time that has forever altered us, and it will never be the same. Like, if you sat there and talked about like getting a burrito at Chipotle and it was wrong, and you sat there and it was da-da-da-da, and that was part of your act and it was hilarious, we're not sitting at Chipotle anymore. That's only takeout. It's curbside only, right?
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, right? And then even if when the quarantine does come, the stuff that you were talking about isn't going to be funny because there's nobody sitting there next to you while you're eating your Chipotle burrito. That was this huge anchor of 10 minutes of comedy. It's gone because we don't sit next to each other at Chipotle eating a burrito anymore. You get my drift, and that's for a lot of comics.
A lot of people and it's crazy to think about too, because it's like, I mean, I still try. I'm trying to write as much as I can, just try little different ideas and stuff like that. But it's not the same because it's a whole different vibe. Like, where can I not mention that? Like, oh, unfortunately, I had to wait in front of my car to get food because of Corona. Like, how is that not mentioned because of the like?
How do you not talk about the Chick-fil-A employee?
Yeah, right.
Have you seen those domes that they're wearing?
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean.
And that's so sad too that they still have to be outside taking those orders with their tablets.
Yeah, on the dome.
When they still have fucking drive-through. That's one thing. Don't even get me started on fucking Chick-fil-A. But I hate that Chick-fil-A has people. They have a menu and a speaker system, but
just like every other place.
But they still have people out there taking your order on a tablet.
I think it's all
fucked up. That's what it is.
It's all for speed and like efficiency.
How?
I love that it pisses you off.
I don't get how it's for speed and efficiency though, because like literally, if there's 10 people there and they all have to wait for one window.
But if you have like 10 people in the kitchen and you give the first one a task, right, of the car A, and then person B, that's in the kitchen, person B and car B, now they're 2 people, then you get 3, and then the other 7 and the 7 employees in the kitchen and the 7 cars, they all have orders and they all can fill them.
Okay.
So what you're doing is you're getting to those cars so that when these 7 people are standing there, they can now fix those orders for the people who are in line, because Chick-fil-A has a big freaking line. I don't know if people from Germany might not understand or people from overseas might understand, but like Chick-fil-A is like an operation, a big operation. So I think the reason they have those people out there on the tablets getting the cars pre-speaker is because they sell so much chicken and they have so much employees. That is such a high demand. It's just like a system that works. And I know it pisses you off, but
because I've seen even at like Taco Cabana or something like that, they have 2 drive-throughs, and I'm just like, why? We're gonna meet at the same spot. I never really got it, but I understand. I get what you're saying.
Taco Cabana, when I went to the second drive-through, because they want people to start using it, it was so much faster.
Really?
When they first introduced it, they made sure to bring it like up to double speed when it comes to that second drive-through, because they wanted to convince the world that it was a good idea. And I don't disagree. It's a decent idea, but it seemed like that second drive-through
went faster.
It went faster, and they were making it faster. And I'm like, come on, guys, you can't make it. You got to make them the same speed. But like you're saying, we all get to the same place at the same time. And we're over here talking about local fast food.
No, dude, Chick-fil-A
is national,
and Taco Cabana I think is a pretty big chain out there.
It's not huge. It's like I think it's like 100 stores in like, I guess 40 states or something. I looked this up before. I've researched my fast food, people.
Taco Cabana in the United States. I'm looking for a picture or something.
There's like dots on a map. I've seen it because I looked it up. It's so silly. Anyway.
Alex T was like, dude, they do the same thing with In-N-Out Burger.
Yeah.
The whole line thing.
Yes.
The tablets.
Yes. I was in Oregon, like you were shitting on Oregon. So in Oregon, they had
no lowriders, tablets
on their freaking In-N-Out in Oregon. So I guess people were making runs from where I was to the city I was in to California to get In-N-Out and bringing it back.
Okay.
And there was like a whole industry of that. And then that's why they opened an In-N-Out where I was in, like, I can't remember where it was.
Okay, there's some shit in Texas.
Yeah.
Arizona.
Yeah,
so it gets like
Taco
southwestern.
Yeah. Taco
region.
Cabana is not like giant in other places other than the Southwest, I guess you should say. I should have said. So what else are they saying? I love the comments.
Fucking love In-N-Out. Haven't eaten in a while, I think that's from Madden.
Now, In-N-Out, they say is overrated.
I'm in the East Coast. Madden's in the East Coast.
There you go. So they say there's a theory that it's overrated. In-N-Out. What do you guys think about that? Anybody comment?
I think it's overrated. And Alex T says also, I heard Bob's and Blake's wouldn't let In-N-Out here.
I don't know if they have any control over it, but I don't know. But the demand here for In-N-Out in Albuquerque is like
stupid,
giant. It's like
I don't like. They have a great burger chain here known as Blake's Lotta Burger. I don't know why they don't take that and just run with it.
But Blake's
over
the years they've fallen out, dude. Blake's, for everybody who doesn't know, Blake's used to have like the biggest immigrant population of employees. Like they just hired like all Mexican nationals,
all the Mexicans, bro.
And the place was sparkling and your food was great and it was fast. And then something happened where they literally sold. I've heard this story from people in Albuquerque. Blake's sold and it changed into a different restaurant. Basically, you've seen all the modernization of the sign alone, of the menu. I'm sorry, alone inside of the restaurant. That, along with all the modernization of the restaurant, it's because it changed hands, and when it changed hands, the employeeship changed. The demographic of employee changed, and it went to a different quality burger.
I get you.
I get why people love Blake's. I enjoy Blake's too. Their breakfast, everything. But Blake's changed, man. When they took the abuelita out of the kitchen, I lost faith in Blake's.
It wasn't the same.
Never.
And you still kind of can see it too. Like you go to the Blake's and you're like, hey, look, there she is. She's cooking my food. I'm good today.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get what you're saying. They're raving about Fuddruckers as well. Fuddruckers is a good establishment, I guess.
I don't know. We don't give it a chance. Probably.
You've ever been to Fuddruckers?
I mean, yeah, I've been there several times. I think there's so many more places that you can go here in Albuquerque before you go eat Fuddruckers.
And then Alex T was just like, for real, dude, they can lose business if In-N-Out came, right? I'm pretty sure Blake's would lose a lot of business.
Yeah, no joke. Because In-N-Out is like, it's like such a cultural phenomenon. It has more to do with the burger than it does.
It's like all my coworkers were very nice ladies and they mostly only spoke in Spanish.
Thank you.
Orale.
See?
Alex T, shout out.
I'm telling you, Alex, right? Dude, it's not like I'm not talking smack because I don't know what I'm talking about. Like whenever I see the people in the back change from like these abuelitas to freaking
teenage losers,
grungy looking people like yourself.
I get so mad too when I go there and I'm just like, fuck, everyone here is under fucking 20.
Pimple face.
Yeah, you guys, I get it.
Man, I love Blake's, man, but it's just they changed, bro.
It's hilarious,
dude. It is a different place than it was.
But then you take that and compare it to like McDonald's.
Oh,
that's
God.
a fucking.
It's weird how there's
a monolithic
like
giant, dude. Oh my God, you can't even handle that.
Right? It's so odd how that happens, dude. That is so funny.
People in there's a McDonald's in Europe, but they'll never know what a Blake's Lotta burger would taste like.
True.
Even like in the United States, pretty sure people in like the East Coast don't really know what Blake's is.
Oh yeah,
shit like that.
Isn't Blake's like here and in
just the Southwest
Colorado, and that's it? I think
there's a Arizona one as well too.
All right, Google some more fast food restaurants and where they're located for 1,000, Alex. Yeah, I think Blake's is like a New Mexican thing because somebody was like, I remember somebody saying, I went to Arizona and I couldn't find a Blake's.
I don't think there is in there.
Yeah, see, it's just like New Mexico. But when it comes to like Fuddruckers, I get it. It's like a great establishment, but like honestly, there's like a handful of places to go right here into town before we go to Fuddruckers, and like right next to our local.
Yeah, there is. Texas and in Arizona.
Okay, so it's just the 3 states.
Yeah, but in Texas they only have 3.
That's wild.
3 of them, and in Arizona they only have 3 as well.
That's so strange.
And in New Mexico they have like 62 or something like that.
Holy smokes!
Bunch of stores here.
Yeah. And see, they if you go through the history of them, they sold however many years ago, 5-10 years ago, they sold to like another company, and the person who Blake or something sold it. You know what I mean? There's like the whole, which is funny because some of these. Go ahead.
Alex T was talking about too that nobody even knows that Bob's Burgers is actually a burger place. They base it off of the cartoon series Bob's Burgers.
Yeah.
So they didn't really know it's kind of like Bob's Burgers is an actual restaurant establishment.
One of the hottest freaking tortilla burgers taco burgers that you'll find is freaking Bob's. Holy smokes! There's times where I'm like, no, I don't want any Bob's because I don't want to die with the heat of their salsa. Their chili. Their chili is just sick. Not their salsa, but their chili. They have like red chili that is like fire sauce. And that's what they slather all their stuff in. And it's great, but it's like sometimes it's so hot it's inedible.
It's always good to know an establishment's probably really good if it has like a B or C plus rating in like the hygiene and stuff.
Oh yeah,
because I mean Bob's Burgers actually got a lot of huff and beef because they didn't keep their establishments up to par with residential codes. They're like, hey, this is like, well, you're getting city tags because it's dirty and stuff in here.
It's weird because like our East Coast friends that are listening, they know that there is literally in LA too. There's differences between A, B, and C restaurants. And when you see that letter on the front window, it's a different feeling when you go to each one of those. Here in New Mexico, I don't know if there's a ton of B's, but like it's like a requirement to like be an A restaurant, right? Isn't it something like that?
I don't know. See, that's one thing I don't know.
That's weird because like I think a lot of the restaurants here carry an A. I mean, there's not a ton of B's here. In East Coast and on the West Coast where there's a larger population, they get away with a little bit more, so they have like literally they'll have a B restaurant.
Okay.
Whereas in Albuquerque, I think a B restaurant gets closed down until they become again an A-rated establishment.
Oh, interesting.
And I think it has a lot to do with population or whatever it might be, but like
it should be sanitary and it should be clean.
Yeah, but
it's
like,
not even a lot.
Back east, there's literally restaurants that like have a B rating, and that's just fine, and people still go to that restaurant,
enjoy it and stuff.
Anyway.
Alex C said, also apparently the grandson from Blake's got killed because he got involved in drug dealing, turned bad.
See, there's a story to all those to all the Albuquerque built businesses. There's so many of them that have a story. Breaking Bad is a fictional story of a thing that happened in New Mexico, but there's so many Breaking Bad-esque stories that come out of New Mexico in real life.
Yeah.
It's very strange how people start businesses, go big, and then they have some like weird...
Some ties with something weird.
And I've heard something weird about Blake, so like I remember something like Alex is talking about. You know what I mean? It's like there was some kind of shift with the family and the thing and the selling and blah, 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 and then we come to this point where it's a different ownership and stuff.
Yeah, but...
I remember something like
even
that.
to the beginning, it's crazy to think about, like, just a way to, for whatever reason, drug laundering.
That's weird. That's strange. And then what about the first, like if you go into any Blake's, there's a picture of the very first one.
Yeah,
which is down at the other end of San Mateo. It's not very far as a business goes. It's like the very first one is still there or something like that, right?
That's one of those things where somebody should make a documentary about that.
Right. And then at one point too, now that I'm thinking about it, you said making a documentary. Are we oversaturated on documentaries?
I don't know. I honestly,
There's a documentary for everything. I guess
now there is, yeah.
There's a consumer for everything, I guess, but at the same time too, it's like, wow, there's a lot of documentaries.
there is a fuckload of documentaries
It's
out
a
there.
lot. I always wonder, are we oversaturated in documentaries?
Because I try to think of, like, I like watching documentaries too, but then to a certain point, I'm just like, holy fuck, like, that's a lot. Like,
And then the fact that, I mean, there's so many different avenues you can go down. Like I was recommending one from Mexico about avocados. That's a pretty fucking weird rabbit hole to go down. Anyway.
yeah, out of all of them, that's the beautiful. Like, I never would have expected when I first saw the
Garlic.
Yeah, everyone kept saying that there was
A movie, a documentary.
based off of the one here in New Mexico
Yeah.
about something happening in Garlic, but I didn't really look into it too much.
Yeah.
And so one day I was just like, fuck it, why not? Because it's a documentary series on Netflix, but one of the episodes is just about the garlic.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything else is something different. Like, oh, this is this is this.
Is it the food or something like that?
Yeah,
What
I think it's called Rotten or something like that.
Yes, Rotten. I started watching that.
Yeah, there's one on there that's about the garlic, and they'll talk about a lot about New Mexico.
Boom.
They talk about Espanola.
That's sick.
Talk about the trading there, but they went in a battle with the Chinese
That's crazy.
because they have the market over it,
Yeah.
like literally.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there was like a buyout or something like that.
Crazy.
And Alex T was like, there was a show called Rotten on Netflix. Yeah, that's what it was.
There it is. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to look at that up. Thanks, Alex.
Yeah, it's crazy. Check it out though. Alex, my high school teacher was the guy. Not there was two main guys. One of them seemed like he was a dick and took the deal, but the other guy was pretty cool. They had Chinese prisoners peeling the garlic. They do a bunch of shit. It's a good documentary. It's pretty cool. I think it's like an hour, just like an episode thing.
It makes sense. Chinese prisoners, it's cheap labor.
Yeah, dude. And that's what's crazy to think about too, that almost everything in the world, a lot of everything is built there.
Yeah.
Because they don't care about the regulations on Earth.
Well, they were also saying too, what about after Corona? Is there going to be a giant resurgence for American-made products because of the fact that we don't trust things that come from Asia as much as we did before? And there was a big talk about how much your manufacturing is going to come back, in a sense.
That's one of the things I guess you could say Trump is being kind of praised for, or kind of like showing that he's kind of doing something.
Right.
Like, he's one of the only presidents that's really ever put this much pressure on China to do something.
China.
It's like, hey man, fucking pay us more money, blah blah blah.
It's very strange.
So it's weird how that's working out too. But to be honest, I honestly feel like we're inevitably gonna have a World War III sometime soon.
You think so?
I do.
Wow.
It's overdue, and I think it should happen sometime soon.
Now, lay out your theory behind what the events would be. I don't mean to be going too far in the weeds, but like, what would lead up to a World War III, and then what would that look like in your eyes?
Like right now, a World War III looks like too futuristic. So it looks like we wouldn't have anything to do with it.
Right.
But constant things in the news and stuff would always be hitting us where we seem like we should be informed, but I'm pretty sure.
So now let me ask you this.
I can't even imagine, dude. It blows me away. But fucking, because if you think about it, we never dealt with war in our lifetime.
Yeah, no joke.
Maybe like Desert Storm, maybe the Iraq thing, but those are little significance compared to
what does the modern day battlefield look like compared to the last battlefield?
World War II, fucking
Right.
Even the Vietnam War. Like we didn't. Nothing really happened in our sense, in our land, but going out in the world is what's scary.
So I wanted to talk to you about this, and I don't think we've had this conversation. Maybe we did, but there is a book, a strategic book that is written on every. I didn't talk to you about this. I talked to somebody else. There's a book that's written basically by a military strategist, and those books are the way to invade country X. So every country is indexed in those books, and there's all kinds of different authors for different strategies. And so one of the mainstays of all the different strategic books that are written on the United States is the fact that it's not penetrable. So what they're basically saying is the terrain, the mass, and the people all put together in the United States is not a war that any nation can bring. Does that make any sense?
I get what you're saying.
So that's what I find solace whenever somebody like like yourself feels like it's inevitable. I always say that it's almost impossible. It's next to, if not is, impossible to invade our country.
So war to come here.
So World War III would be somewhere else, okay? And that's why I asked you to describe it, because, maybe in your head you had a little bit of an idea. I don't know if I even have an idea, but this is my theory, is war will be exactly what you just described, is it'll be information. So this thing you have in front of you is a computer, this thing here, and then what we're being processed through to the other people with their computers. So what we're looking at right now is, I think we are in World War III, but the battlefield is in our minds and our devices and in our consumerism right now. So what I feel is we are in a battle because we see all this propaganda, which isn't new. Propaganda is one of the oldest weapons of war that has ever been used. And when you can't invade a terrain like the United States, the best way to invade is through the device that isn't sitting in front of all of us. And what we've been doing, the mistake that we all make, is accepting so much of what we read as fact. And I'm not trying to get crazy or deep, but what we got to make sure is people are watching and listening is we got to take what we consume and make sure, just like the organic consumer of foods, we got to make sure we get some organic stuff, because we're eating too much processed stuff into our brains, into our heads, and we're not that concerned about what we're putting into our brains. And there's a lot of propaganda out there that is created by other entities that have interest in invading. And that's why I say I think World War III is going on right now, and that's why we're in what we're in. Because the news and all that stuff, with all the virus and all the infighting and all the trade, all that stuff that has been going on with China, is because that is our biggest threat war-wise. And the way that they're invading us and the way Russia invades us is through social network, is through the computer, is through our telephones, is through our TVs. And they put stuff in front of us that they create that makes everything kind of like the reality become absurd, which we're living in right now. And I think we are living in World War III. I think the battlefield looks like a computer screen.
I think the hardest part to deal with too is that, like, if a World War III does happen and stuff, hopefully it's in a significant way to unite us, because all we've ever done in this country is just fight against each other.
Well, I was saying this last weekend, and we've united through every freaking crisis, and this wouldn't be one of them that we wouldn't. Look at what happened during the other world wars, where manufacturing switched, and like factories changed from making cars to making bombs, bullets, and tanks. I think if we were to go to a World War II, I don't think it would be that much to expect a lot of the same things to happen that way too. A lot of the resources that we have and a lot of the stuff that we manufacture going towards war stuff, tanks and battlefield accessories, and just imagine what that would be. That would be insane if we had to take all the resources, just like we're strapped right now for resources. Imagine if it was for a war. And I don't think it's going to happen. I think there's too much to be lost from each side for there to be a war, other than a secret war that goes on in our minds, in our devices, and the propaganda we consume that we don't realize is propaganda.
That makes sense.
So I think there is a war going on right now, and I don't think you have anything to worry about, because there's not going to be a Chinaman coming to your door and shooting an AK-47 through your window. And I don't think you have to worry about that. And I think that's maybe some people's concern. I think what they're going to do is they're going to bring an AK-47 in the form of propaganda and try to put it into your brain so that you go out and shoot your own neighbor. And I think that's happened a lot, because we see a lot of that. We see infighting in the United States. They've proven that there is people making accounts that are polar opposites of each other, setting up rallies across the street from each other just to watch the infighting. You have to divide in order to conquer. Right now, propaganda is trying to divide all of us. And it's successful because look at all the divisions we have. Look at all the genders we have. Look at all the different religions and all this different infighting that we have in between American and American. And we're forced to create all these divisions culturally and religiously and spiritually and divisions in income and all these divisions. We're taught by television and screens to create all these divisions to the point where we have to make sure that people know where team we're on. Team Star Wars, team Mexican hat guy, team, you get my drift. So we encourage these amongst each other.
Yeah.
And then so we go out and seek them, and then we create all these divisions inside of America. So yes, it would be easier to conquer us because we're already infighting. You're not going to have to worry about a Chinaman coming over here and shooting you. You're going to have to worry about the guy who doesn't believe in the same belief because you guys have been consuming two different ideologies that maybe both have been delivered to you and him via a foreign entity who has the idea of creating infighting to conquer the United States, because that's what the next world war is going to be.
Cyber war.
And that's why we're here. I think we're in it. You know what I mean? I think we're in it.
That makes sense. If not, we're just, at least it's influential right now. Like even the little things right now.
Super influential. I mean, look at every 4 years has become more and more audible with our elections.
Right.
And it all
we got a celebrity now. It's crazy.
It's weird, man. All these elections have become more and more just left field events, and it comes faster and faster every 4 years. 4 years in the early 2000s wasn't the same speed of internet that we have now or same speed of computers. So now that we have these devices that work so much quicker, they can produce propaganda, they can produce programming, they can produce TV shows and stuff just like I can.
Even like simulations and stuff.
Boom.
They're producing real world things.
So they're producing people saying things that look like they're saying them and they're not saying them. And the thing I worry about here is they say that you only have to say some 700 odd words, and they can take that into a computer program and make you say anything. With those 700 odd words.
That's crazy.
Isn't that weird?
Spoken words just into anything.
And we're sitting here for hours speaking all those 700 words, and then one day, hopefully not, there's going to be a podcast where we're over here, shit, fuck, piss, cocksucker, motherfucker.
Right.
And we're just going to be, blah, 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 blah. It's going to be some weird shit that we talk about, but we already see it, like with the Joe Rogan clips. And
he's talking to himself or something.
Dude, we already see it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And then they take like 87 podcasts and boil it down to like 4 sentences, and he's talking about like some weird shit.
Anything he could talk about. That's one person that has said everything in the human language, I feel.
So when they boil it down to these weird clips that they make, he's over there talking about all kinds of crazy shit. And that is not impossible as computing speed increases to imagine a common citizen doing it to another common citizen, because you now possess the computing power that it takes to make that thing, that video, and to process that image into something that looks real. You can make your neighbor sound like he's calling the other neighbor the worst thing in the world, to the point where they fight.
Yeah.
That's where the battlefield's going to be. America is going to kill itself from the inside if we don't watch out, because we're already doing that.
That makes sense.
And it's good that I hate to say it like this, it's good that we've had this pause of a pandemic to pause all this social justice warrior shit. I hate to say it like that, but with a lot of the stuff that was happening, we were getting so divided into different clubs and clans, and we were all infighting. And now look at us. We're way more united than we've ever been.
Yeah, we have to.
We have to be. We have to be. So in the battlefield of World War III that we're in my own mind, it's battlefield like I explained, but then also the positive consequences of that current situation. Just like every world war, there was all these positive situations that came out of one. Every war. Now, World War III, it involves a pandemic, and there's all kinds of positive things that are coming out of it. if you really think about it.
It makes sense. And that's true of every scenario or every like thing that's happened throughout history that just kind of made us either stronger or just grow out of it.
Yep.
Like it's kind of like a never ending wheel. It's just like you have to kind of go with it.
You have to grow. Humanity always has been. Look at we came from caves where we drew stuff on the wall. And that's proven.
Yeah.
You know, look at us now. We're sitting in front of a screen, a camera. You know, look at, you know, we were in
this
caves,
is getting a long way.
The only way we were able to translate or convey what we were feeling inside was to draw it on a wall. And now we can sit here for hours and talk about it on a podcast.
That's dope.
It's weird, man. It's strange.
That's life, everybody.
And that's progress, you know what I mean? And what does this same progress look like 10 years from now, 5 years, 10 years from now? Like Elon was saying on another
computer trip.
Yeah, dude.
Brain. Yeah.
Neuralinks.
That's going to be beautiful, man.
Freaking bonkers, dude.
I want it now. I want it now.
Interfacing speeds up to something we've never imagined. And imagine every crazy person who has one. Now they're able to spew their craziness on everything in front of us at hyper speeds.
Just with the words notice.
Imagine what kind of bonkers stuff is out there that people are just like, I don't have the time to produce a video to explain what I'm thinking. But once they have the Neuralink, boom, they're going to be able to put together a video that totally translates what they're thinking into a visual thing that you can consume. And then now we're all kind of goofy because we've seen this guy's goofy video that he made in 3 seconds in his Neuralink.
Yeah.
That's going to be weird.
That's going to be fun.
That's going to be weird.
Josh, we've been here for 2 hours and 10 minutes now.
That is awesome.
I appreciate you coming by, man. Give a shout out. Where can they find you? I know you started a few things on Facebook and stuff too, so just give them the shout outs where they can find all your stuff.
On Facebook, I'm Joshua Rochelle, Joshua Rochelle, Rochelle. I also started a production page called FOB Films. This gentleman named it. It was a good name. We kept it. It was a great name. And it stands for Flores Burke. That's my Instagram name. Flores Burke on Instagram. Follow me. And there I also have FOB Films on Instagram. And the films page is just, it's going to be an outlet for what we're hoping to put together in the future, and what I'm hoping to put together in the future as far as kind of like portraits and film and videography for events and for people and for lowriders and for you to consume. So that's what FOB Films is on Instagram, FOB Films on Facebook. Josh Rochelle on Facebook is just my personal page. I'm not too involved in Facebook. I just started it just because of everything that we've been doing. I am completely involved 100% in Instagram at Flores Burke. Follow me, enjoy my stuff. Give me a shout out. Let me know that you heard me on here, and people did last time, and I appreciate that, and it was cool to hear. And I really enjoyed that, and I'm glad everybody enjoyed my last. But like I said, Flores Burke, Instagram, and then you can go from there if you want to go further. Josh Rochelle on Facebook. So
you guys heard it here, folks. Make sure to tune in all the time. We're probably gonna have another podcast here in a bit. If we do, I got to hit them up. We'll see what happens. But yeah, make sure to follow me on all social media sites: MuseMe TV, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook.
It's always cool, man.
Always doing some streaming on Twitch as well. So make sure to check me out, guys. Alex T. Hit me up on any of the social media sites that I talked about, and we'll get you in here. It's like, I need to be on this show.
That's cool, man. I'm excited to see that one, too. That'd be cool.
Heck yeah, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you're not, make sure to like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff, because we try to do this all the time. Peace.